This is a time to reflect on the serious and far-reaching issues of domestic violence, an issue that affects individuals, families, and entire communities across our state and this nation. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It impacts people of all backgrounds, races, genders, and economic statuses. It occurs in the shadows behind closed doors, and for too often, survivors feel isolated, fearful, and unsure of where to turn for help. But today and every day, we stand together to break the silence. We are here to support survivors, remember those we've lost, and work together to ensure that everyone has access to safety, justice, and healing. In Oregon, we have made important strides to address domestic violence and protect survivors. Our state has passed a number of laws aimed to providing support, preventing violence, and ensuring justice for those impacted. I want to quickly highlight a few key pieces of legislation that demonstrate our commitment to this cause. One important law is Oregon Senate Bill 795, passed in 2019, which strengthens the protections for survivors by allowing survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking to request flexible work schedules and up to 14 days of unpaid leave to seek assistance, such as medical treatment, legal help, or finding a safe place to stay. This ensures that survivors can take time to protect themselves and their families without fearing job loss. In 2017, House Bill 4145 was signed into law, closing the boyfriend loophole, which had previously allowed individuals convicted of domestic violence against partners they were not married to or living with to still possess firearms. This law is crucial in reducing the risk of further violence, as we know that access to firearms increases the lethality of domestic violence situations. House Bill 3025, which prohibits employers from considering an applicant's history of domestic violence, sexual assault, or harassment when making hiring decisions. This ensures that survivors are not punished for their experiences and are given fair opportunities for employment. House Bill 2004, which aims to survivors of domestic violence can break their lease early without penalty if they need to leave their homes to escape abuse. This law recognizes that leaving an abusive relationship often requires sudden, significant changes, and no one should be trapped in a home where they don't feel safe. These laws represent progress, but we know there is still much work to be done. Laws alone cannot solve the problem of domestic violence. We must continue to educate our communities, challenge cultural norms that tolerate or excuse abuse, and ensure that survivors have the resources they need to rebuild their lives. As we observe Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I urge each of you to think about how we can make a difference, whether through volunteering, supporting local shelters and advocacy organizations, or simply by having open and compassionate conversations about domestic violence. Every action matters. Let us commit to a future where every person feels safe in their home, where survivors are believed, supported, and empowered, and where domestic violence is no longer tolerated. Y en español, la violencia doméstica no discrimina, afecta a personas de todos los orígenes, razas y géneros y estatus económicos. Ocurre en las sombras, a puertas cerradas, o a muy menudo los sobrevivientes se sienten aislados, temorosos y sin saber de dónde acudir en busca de ayuda. Pero hoy y todos los días estamos aquí para romper ese silencio. Estamos aquí para apoyar a los sobrevivientes, recordar que quienes hemos perdido y a trabajar juntos para garantizar que todos tengan acceso a seguridad, justicia y sanación. En Oregon hemos hecho avances importantes para abordar la violencia doméstica y proteger a los sobrevivientes. Nuestro estado ha aprobado una serie de leyes diseñadas para brindar apoyo, prevenir la violencia y asegurar justicia para quienes han sido afectados. Quisiera resaltar algunas de las leyes claves que demuestran nuestro compromiso con esta causa. El proyecto de ley del Senado 795 de Oregon, aprobado en el 2019, refuerza las protecciones para las sobrevivientes al permitirles solicitar horarios de trabajo flexibles y hasta 14 días de licencia de remunerar para buscar ayuda, como tratamiento médico, asistencia legal o encontrar un lugar seguro en donde quedarse. La ley 3025 de la Cámara de Representantes, que prohíbe a los empleados de considerar el historial de violencia doméstica, agresión sexual o acoso de un solicitante al tomar decisiones de contradicción. Esto asegura que los sobrevivientes no sean castigados o castigadas por sus experiencias y se les brinden oportunidades justas de empleo. Más reciente, se olvidó compartirlo en inglés, pasamos una ley donde uno puede obtener un restraining order. Antes era 1 año, pero ahorita está extendido para 2 años para los sobrevivientes que ocupan tener un restraining order que sea más de 1 año. One of the things I forgot to mention in English is that this past legislative session, we passed legislation that allows for survivors to basically ask for an extended restraining order. It used to be only 1 year. Now we've extended it to 2 years because we understand that that a lot of survivors for a 1-year restraining order is not enough. Al conmemorar el mes de concientización sobre la violencia doméstica, les insto a todos a pensar en cómo podemos marcar la diferencia, ya sea a través de voluntarios, apoyando refugios locales o organizaciones de defensa, o simplemente teniendo conversaciones abiertas y sobre la violencia doméstica, cada acción que cuenta. Comprometemos con un futuro donde cada persona se sienta segura en su hogar, donde los sobrevivientes sean creídos, apoyados y empoderados, y donde la violencia doméstica ya no sea tolerada. Now I'm going to read the proclamation that the City of Gresham has done for us. I apologize on behalf, just in the future, because it's only in English, so it's only an English proclamation. The City of Gresham Council Proclamation, whereas domestic violence is a pervasive crime that affects every community in Oregon, with an estimated 40% of women and 36% of men experiencing physical abuse, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner, and whereas an average of 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States, totaling over 10 million each year. And whereas domestic violence strips individuals of their safety, dignity, and basic human rights through the systemic use of power and control, impacting their sexual, emotional, financial, physical, psychological well-being. And whereas underserved populations, including survivors with disabilities, immigrants, and racial minorities, are at a higher risk for domestic and sexual violence, facing significant barriers in accessing safety and resources. And whereas domestic violence can lead to long-term mental health challenges such as anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and chronic illness. And whereas the City of Gresham is committed to supporting individuals on their journey to a safe, healthy, and stable environment, and to achieving our goal of eliminating domestic violence by partnering with organizations that provide compassionate, trauma-informed services that honor the strengths of our community and our culture's ties. And therefore, the City of Gresham stands resolute in its commitment to supporting survivors and families in their healing journey, raising awareness about devastating effects of domestic violence, and providing continued prevention, education, and services to those most vulnerable. We affirm that abusers must be held accountable for their actions so survivors can exercise their right to free and informed life choices. The City of Gresham hereby proclaims October 2024 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, dated the 1st of October. Gresham Mayor Travis Stovall. Thank you all so very much.